Merry Christmas. Hi, guys. I'm home now. Well, I got my coat here. Get my coat off of my chair. I was traveling all day yesterday. I was going to make a video last night. I was like, man, I am too tired. The name of this video, I think I'm going to name it, what Jesus meant to me and means to me, not meant. There's always, I saw a post the other day, and there's all this, for some reason, you know, uh, Christianity feels like it's in contrast with spirituality, with a spiritual community. And source is source. If you guys watch my channel or any, Jesus was one of the best representations of that. And there was actually, and I've talked about this before, but there was actually three characters in the Bible that went through similar things that Jesus did. And actually, there's more than that. You just don't know much of the story. The Elijah, Moses, and Jesus are all three on the Mount of Transfiguration. The and the reason why is because all three of those fasted for 40 days, 40 nights in the wilderness. So there's a reason behind that, and Jesus actually talks about it in his writings. But there's a reason why he sent the messages he did, and why he got mad about people trying to sell spirituality in the square, or he knocked over the tables. That's the only time you really see Jesus get super mad in the New Testament, is when he's getting after the money changers for selling themselves, for selling spirituality. And there's a reason behind that. And if you don't know the reason, it's hard to know the reason behind that. Before I get into why, I guess, I'd like to give you my version of, who I always felt he was. And growing up, the way I was, it felt like I had like an inside scoop as to, his motivations, right? Because his motivation and what he always taught was unconditional love. And you have to understand why that is. Everything is divine. There isn't anything that doesn't come from God and goes back to God and is a part of God. You have the creator and the created. And the creator and the created and the spirit are the three parts that is a part of everything. It's a part of you. It's a part of me, right? The creator from the center of my heart to the spirit, the motion that creates that, and then the created vessel that you see before you in this great little picture. That is how everything works, right? So when you look at everything from that standpoint, everything is just a matter of self-discovery, and evolution is this long chain of self-discovery where you become more and more self-aware. And as you become more self-aware, you start interacting with your environment differently. And that was his story. But you go through a lot of pain to get there. When I was born, I was just you get dropped into a field of, if other people around you are going in pain, you're accessing that field. And if you feel that pain, babies cry a lot when they're born because, they were in a place of comfort, and all of a sudden they get spit out. And now when you're in the womb, you have that protection of the water around you that kind of buffers the sensations around you. And so you experience more of what your mother's going through. And then when you come out of the womb, now you're experiencing what everybody's going through. So the whole journey is learning to transmute that pain and understand that that's not your trauma, that it's just trauma being projected from other people. Now you can maintain that trauma if you live by money. The reason is because you don't ever have to really serve anybody if you're just serving money, because now you can do whatever you want. If you don't serve money and you're just serving the people around you, then it forces you to grow, because you can't not grow. You have to grow, or else you will not be supported. Because if you're not putting positive energy into the people around you, they're not going to give it in return. And so it's this simple play of never-ending growth versus just staying stagnant where you're at if you're just going after money. And that's why he just went after the money changers. It was, everything that he said about that was, take up your cross and follow me, because he's, telling people to take up their burdens and just serve the people around them. And then that's how you learn and grow about yourself. You never will if you do it for money, because now you can pick and choose what you're going to do, how you're going to serve the community. It never opens up your heart space. It allows you to stay separate. So you're never growing as a human, as a person. And other people, let's say you can look at the example of Moses and Elijah, where they came for different reasons, but the same. Different, but the same. Different aspects of the same thing, right? You're always cutting off the part that wants to control you, that shadow that wants to pull you down, and lifting up the brighter parts of yourself that support one another, that bring positive energy into one another and teach equality. Because every single verse that Jesus taught in the Bible was about equality. He was never trying to lift himself up above other people. And if there's a verse that sounds like that, it doesn't say that. It never says, as a matter of fact, he says in one part of the Bible, it says, you will do greater things than I, because I go back to the Father. So modern Christianity doesn't really address that verse very well, because they've placed him on such a platform that you can never attain. And that's not what he was teaching. He was never teaching that you couldn't attain what he attained. He said, you and I and the Father are one. And the way to get there is this, this, and this. I am the way, the truth, and the light. No one comes to the Father but by my way. See, the way that the verses can get construed, anybody can turn a verse on itself to make it sound differently, so that you have to go through them on what their version of what they think this person was. The Bible's a 2,000-year-old book, but all the lessons that are taught there are true to what the truth is. But it's easy to construe one verse to make it seem like one person is greater than another, which is not. Everything in this reality is equal. There isn't anything that doesn't have equal value. And so when we place unequal value upon ourselves, that's what creates inequality and conflict. That's the only reason that conflict even exists, is because of that. And so, you're always in this struggle of self-awareness when you really understand that and you start down that path. I just wanted to give this message because it's kind of like a post-Christmas. I had such a wonderful Christmas. So blessed to have family that, care about each other. And I was, the hardest thing for children to learn is how to share. Mine. That's the first thing your kid, because they want to protect their stuff. Mine. But nothing's yours. I mean, the house I'm living in, nothing, the car I'm driving in, it's not. It can be taken away from me tomorrow. It could explode. This house could burn down. You're always living by the grace of God, as long as you are doing what you need to do for yourself and other people. But, I was thinking about this on the way home yesterday. And I think, one of the best things that kids could learn for Christmas, especially if you've got a bunch of siblings, is for the kids to get one present and then share it. Make them share it for a week. Either they would learn how to treat each other and lift each other up, or maybe they wouldn't, right? It would teach them about themselves. For one thing, we are living on one planet. So that's what we're going through. And so this is the end. This is going to be the ending of this little message. I'm not going to do a reading today. there's a reason for readings, and they help us, work on what we need to work on. But what you're seeing in society right now, and this is why Jesus was so powerful in what he was able to do, is because he learned so much about himself, was able to realize that he was source. Him and the Father are one. That's how he was able to go through the desert for 40 days, 40 nights, and he could transmute any negative energy around him. Not only that, but cut off the shadow of something pulling off of him internally so he could do that for other people. That's why he was able to heal the boy of possessions and become a light no matter where he went. The external means nothing, right? It's all about in here, where your heart's at. And that's a big reason why nobody recognized him. I went to a Bible study the other day where we talked about that, and people didn't know who he was or believed who he was until after he ascended, because we will only see the people around us of how we see ourselves, and you'll never see anybody as greater than you. But the reality is there's nobody that's greater or less than, unless you try and make them feel that way. So why would you ever try and make anybody feel less than you unless you felt bad about yourself, right? It's pointless. So then it's easier to see that everybody is just working through whatever pain they need to go through, and let that pain go, let the past go, in order to see that they have so much more value than they ever thought they did, to pour that into the people around them and transmute whatever negative energies are going on around them. And so what you're seeing in the marketplace right now are as the money system breaks down, people relying on that system are having to transmute negative energy. And the people that are doing that first will be the ones to help the ones to start working together and sharing in creative projects to help everything grow. It's actually a beautiful process when you look at it from a whole. There's nothing bad that's ever happening. It's all happening for a reason. And this is just a big soul training ground to learn that the only thing that ever really matters is us giving love and receiving love from each other. And whatever form that takes really doesn't matter. It could be in the form of money or anything. But when you place that over the relationship between you and me, then it becomes something that becomes a detriment between you and I. And so eventually it will go away, but not until people learn their lessons. So we're going through this big learning lesson experience, very short amount of time, right? It's happening very quickly. And it's accelerating very fast. So my projects are basically how to teach that, to create a system and to show people how you can create groups and larger groups to serve one another and elevate people into positions where they're serving groups, because a group will know what person can transmute that negative energy in that group and to help serve that group, and then that group will elevate that person, and then positions will come up and down depending on what lessons everybody needs to learn. Right? And then we all grow together until there's this big, right? I mean, I've talked about this before, and if you've watched any of my other videos from my other channel, I probably keep, and I might start uploading to that channel again. We'll see, because I really want to redo some of those videos, but we're just moving from a negative pole to a positive pole in a galactic torus field. Right? Your own body is a torus field. This is the positive side, and the bottom below your heart is the negative side, your attractive side. So you're pulling energy in the bottom, and you're creating energy from the top. And so when you're constantly just pouring positive energy into your environment, that's the energy that you receive. If you're pouring negativity into your environment, then you won't necessarily receive. You won't get you'll get what you need. You're always getting what you need to learn about yourself. You're never not getting what you need to learn about yourself. I can guarantee you that. So yeah, we're all being, in the bigger picture, all of us are going to a state where you can You finally cut off all parts of the shadow, and you can go into any group and transmute any energy. And then it's the true healing mystical journey, right? Where you become a mystical healer, where you're accessing so many parts of reality to cut off the part that's pulling off of you, to make sure that you're breathing healthily. It's all just about breathing in a healthy way, breathing out and breathing in. And if you're restricting how you breathe out, it means that you're not speaking correctly, or you're not thinking correctly, right? So you're not connecting to your higher self, the bigger and bigger parts of reality. Because as you go up, I saw a picture. I think they showed like 22 chakras that go up, and they get wider and wider and wider in different colors. And then, of course, the top ones are just the most brilliant white, pure white light, because it includes everything in creation. And that's what we are at a whole. And so this vessel is just accessing a portion of it, depending on how well you are ascending in that process. And so whenever you think that, you have to worry about money, and then worry about that's your support, then you're always going to have to learn a lesson that's not, it's the way you support each other. And that's how you learn about yourself, right? Because you'll never learn unless you learn that one. And then it becomes a deeper and deeper way that you support one another. So, right? That was why he came. And so, actually, I can point to every verse in the Bible that is technically correct, but you can twist it to make it sound like it means something else. And that's why there's 33,000 sects of Christianity. Because they have so many different spins on what this means or that means, and trying to take things at face value, and just, don't ever take anything at face value. Search yourself, search your heart, and you don't have to believe what I say, right? But if it resonates with you, then yeah. I made a post on Facebook the other day about how the Grinch stole Christmas, and that was one of the most amazing Christmas stories to me, because it's talking about somebody who just had a bad attitude, and that was me for a long time. I had a super bad attitude, because if you're surrounded by people that are in that state, and you're in that state, you're not transmitting any energy. You're just doing the day, the daily grind, every day, and nothing's getting, you're just hating life, drinking on the weekends, and it just becomes this, blah, right? It doesn't feel like your life is being fulfilled at all. And so, that's the Grinch, right? And so he's mad about Christmas. And but there's that part in Christmas when he takes all their presents, and then the next morning he's thinking that they're going to be mad, because that's all he can see is this external stuff. But then the same thing happens. It doesn't matter if they had presents or not. They start singing "Dahu Doris," when they start coming together, and then he realized it's like has nothing to do with the stuff. And then the true meaning of Christmas came through. And then the Grinch, had the strength of 10 Grinches plus 2. And, so here, let me look it up real quick. I'll pause the video. So I'll just quote, because there's two main quotes that I used from How the Grinch Stole Christmas. It's like, and what happened then? Well, in Whoville, they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And then the true meaning of Christmas came through, and the Grinch found the strength of 10 Grinches plus 2. And then what is that truth? And in the article, I said, what is the truth that the Grinch found? And it's in the last dialogue of How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And this is the basis of what Jesus and every ascended master teaches. Welcome Christmas, bring your cheer. Cheer to all who's far and near. Christmas Day is in our grasp, so long as we have hands to clasp. Christmas Day will always be, just as long as we have we. Welcome Christmas while we stand, heart to heart and hand in hand. And every time that we are not standing heart to heart and hand in hand and building something together and helping love and receive love in turn, what are we doing? That's the only lesson that there is. You know, let's play together and build stuff together. We don't want to do it isolated. I can look at every single reader on YouTube. And if you're doing a reading, and this is why in a lot of ways I've never really thought about maybe continuing to do readings. It's because all of it boils down to your inability to love one another. The readings are all about love and whether or not you could love one another. Right? And if you can't, then why? Why are you attacking? Why are you jealous of one another? Why everybody is so... I don't know. I don't understand. I really don't. I've never understood. I got into the business community and every single person that I met, it's like, hey, what do you want? You know, we can work together. But if all they want to do is, if the only relationship that you have in business is you're just there for someone else's to give you money, then what are we doing? Right? You just can't get around it. Either you create a relationship with people and want to spend time with them and create things together, or you don't. And if all we're doing is just selling services to each other and staying in our little house, I mean, that does not make sense. And Christmas teaches that lesson. They make it about Christ, but Christ was talking about that, right? Laying down your burdens. Getting rid of all that pain you're holding on to that makes you feel like you're less than somebody else. Everything is just the same. And you only make yourself less than as if you feel like you are. And you're not. Right? I love you guys. And maybe I'll do a reading tomorrow. I got some projects. I got to pick up my son today. And spend the next week with him before the New Year's. So I wish all of you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And for so long, you know, I would cry for myself and other people because of people's inability to get along. But I'm done crying about it, right? You just want to be around people that want to support you, and you can mutually support each other. You can't... You can only weep for so long for, you know, that. And help people understand. All they got to do is we could change this place overnight and just start working together. Love you guys. Have a wonderful holiday season, and we'll see you tomorrow.